Okay, here we go. Hi, Michael and I are here live on a Google Hangout for those of you who are joining us. I'm Lori from House of Running, and Michael is a member of House of Running. He's been training with us for about a year.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah, it's correct. Hi.
All right. I invited Michael to do this chat with me live because I've had a lot of questions about Michael's recent training for the New York Marathon. Michael had the goal of running the New York Marathon in under 3 hours and 30 minutes. And I must say that throughout your training, you've really impressed a lot of people.
Wow.
And inspired a lot of people.
Thank you.
And I've had a lot of questions about your training, and a lot of people were curious because you weren't doing the same training program exactly like the others. And
No,
yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, well, I guess for me it started was I did a half marathon back in October the previous year, 2015. I did the Amsterdam half marathon.
And that was your first half marathon?
First one.
Yes.
Before that, I did like the odd fun run, 10Ks here or there. That was it. And then I thought, well, I live in Amsterdam. There's an Amsterdam half marathon. Why not give it a shot? And I had the best of intentions of doing some training beforehand and get myself prepared. And I didn't do a thing, didn't do a single run before the half marathon. And I thought, I'm fit enough. I've got this. There's plenty of people that are like not in shape that can run it. I surely can run it. But then I ended up getting a stress fracture running that half marathon. And I missed my goal time by like less than 2 minutes. And so I thought, okay, that's really frustrating. I deserve that.
Oh, wow. So your goal was 2 hours.
My goal is 2 hours, and I did like 2 hours, 1 minute, 40 something.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I guess, after the half marathon, that was like grinding on me. I was so close. I could have, if I just did some training, I would have made it. And that's when I decided that's it. I need to like get a coach. I need to like start training. So that's when I joined House of Running, and I did a season training for another half marathon. Because I thought, marathon, that's too far. I'm not interested in running that far. Like, that's not for me. I'll just stick to the shorter distance. A half marathon seemed manageable. And so I did a season of training for the half, and then I said, okay, I'm going to set my goal. Instead of 2 hours, I want to do a half marathon in 1 hour 45. And so after the first season of training with House of Running, I did that in 1 hour 44. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. This feels good. Like, I achieved my goal. And I thought, okay, well, now what can I do? And I thought, well, if I can do a half marathon, I could probably do a marathon. And there's no better time than to, like, while I've got some level of fitness, keep going and I'll do a marathon. But like, what's going to motivate me? And so that's when I thought, you know what, New York, I've heard about it. It's like the biggest and grandest marathon. Like, why don't I set that as my goal? And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do the New York Marathon, and let's double my half marathon time. So that's pretty much what I did. I said, okay, well, double my goal for the half marathon. So 3 hours 30 just became a goal time that I plucked out of the air, really. I had no idea if I was capable of even doing it. But I knew that if I wanted to achieve it, I'd have to get serious about my training. And then, yeah, that's when I partnered with you to get a training program. And yeah, it was a little different to the rest of the group for House of Running, but a lot of it was the same. So I still got to do my long runs with the group and still got to do the strength training and stuff. But there were some tweaks, which I think made a big difference.
Great, yeah.
To my performance.
I think it would be interesting to hear a little bit about the tweaks that you made to your training. Well, because also I think it's important to remind everybody that's going to be watching this that you've actually, when you went for that goal, I guess you had only 6 months of consistent running under your belt?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, when they go for their first marathon, they're not thinking of some great big ambitious goal of under 3:30. They're just thinking like, I want to do this marathon. But you were sure you wanted to do it in under 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so sure.
You did not want to let go of that goal.
No, and I don't know why in hindsight now. It was just, I think it was just something that I knew would motivate me for the season, and it would be something that, you know, would inspire me to like really just push my body further and to like test myself. Like, am I strong enough and mentally capable of like achieving this goal? So I knew it would be a good test for me. But
Right.
It could have been anything. It could have been any time, and I think I would have treated it the same. Yeah.
Right. Well, when you had approached me and asked me what I thought about it, I thought, well, you definitely have the ability. You have a natural ability when it comes to speed. You did really well in your first training season, and I thought, yeah, sure, Michael could do 3:30, but it's going to require some serious training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was probably a lot more training than I initially had thought. But the cool thing was like, it was actually fun. It didn't feel like hardcore training. Like, my life wasn't spent running, 20 kilometers a day in, day out, or anything like that. It was like far from that. It was like the program I had was like really balanced, and if anything, focused more on rest and recovery than probably what I initially expected. And I think, it's like some of the things, like you mentioned before, some of the tweaks that I made was, one was I increased the number of runs that I was doing per week. So I added in an extra run on like a Wednesday, for example, that I wasn't doing previously.
We also added that Wednesday run after several weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't straight away. It was like a gradual build. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Thursdays, when I was doing strength training, I was doing a tempo run and strength training. So Thursday was like a real heavy day for me. I was still doing my long runs on Saturday. And then the recovery runs on Monday were also important. I was like making sure every Monday doing a real gentle recovery run. And then Tuesdays was hill training to begin with, and then intervals later in the season. So it was a pretty full schedule from a running perspective, or like physical activity perspective, but it was balanced and varied in that it was never exactly the same every week. There was enough variety to keep it interesting and challenging. And then the other tweaks that I made was, a big one was probably around diet. Was big for me. I knew that if I wanted to get this performance out of myself, I had to like look after my body. And so I just made some simple changes. Like, I changed like the carbs I was eating. Instead, like I was eating only like brown rice and like sweet potato and stuff, instead of like a lot of bread and regular rice and pastas and stuff. So I sort of changed my carbohydrates a bit. I cut down on a lot of like the red meat that I was eating and increased the amount of like vegetables, particularly like green leafy vegetables and stuff like that I was eating in my diet, which I think takes a little bit of discipline and adjusting to like make those changes, because it's like a lifestyle change. But I honestly believe they made some of the biggest improvements, not only to my performance, but also to my recovery. Like, I found I would recover a lot quicker after heavy sessions when I was like eating healthy. And I think the other big focus, which I mentioned before, was rest. Like, you had active rest days prescribed in my training program. Like, Sundays became self-care Sunday for me, where, it involved sort of 30 minutes of gentle stretching or meditation, followed by like a nice hot relaxing bath. And so that was like prescribed to me week in, week out. And it was taking those moments out to like stop, slow down, and just let my body relax, let my muscles relax, let my body heal, which, you know, it's those sorts of things that like really helped my training and performance for sure.
Right. And we talked about sleep in the beginning.
Yeah.
But your sleep was already pretty good, but you made a couple little tweaks?
Yeah, it was pretty good, but I think it was also a little inconsistent. I think I was in the beginning guilty of maybe having sort of like 6.5, 7 hours sleep during the week. And then maybe on weekends going, oh, it's a weekend, I can sleep in a bit longer. So trying to get more sleep on the weekends. So it was like a little bit up and down. And so one thing I really changed was like trying to get a consistent like 8 hours sleep every night and getting like a consistent amount of sleep. So going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. And that made huge improvements as well, just in terms of like energy and how you feel when you first wake up. When you get enough sleep, you actually feel energized. And it also helped improve like my resting heart rate, for example.
Right. That's something else that we worked on together.
Yeah.
Which is something that not a lot of running coaches talk about or use. Actually, it's something rather new, I'd say rather new out there in the fitness world, is monitoring your resting heart rate. And it's something that I love and that I've experimented with, and you tried it for the first time. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it because I first tried it when I started doing the marathon program. And initially I was not skeptical, but I thought, oh, this is just one of those like little things that I have to do, but it didn't really add up to a lot. But it's really interesting, like monitoring your resting heart rate. You can definitely see how your body actually feels versus how you perceive your body to feel, because you might feel pretty good and recovered and stuff, but your resting heart rate could tell a completely different story, which could be, you know, an underlying illness which is about to creep up or some injury that you're hanging on to. So for me, like I still do it every morning now, even after the marathon. I still take my resting heart rate first thing before I get out of bed, and track it. And for me, it's just, it's now become a daily habit. And
And have you noticed a pattern that's pretty consistent with your training?
Definitely. Like I think the mornings after a hard day, like on a Thursday, or even after a long run on a Saturday, the next morning it tends to be higher. And then days after recovery, so like on a Monday morning after I've had self-care Sunday, it's back down like much lower again. So there is a correlation between the activity that I've just done and then the next morning, for sure.
Right. And about your Saturday runs, we also made some tweaks to those. Do you want to explain?
Yeah. So for the most part, obviously like a Saturday run for me was still my long run. So I was still joining the House of Running group to do my long runs. But, you know, there might be some weeks where my distance was a little less than the group, in which case I'd have to like have some self-discipline and drop off and finish before the rest of the group. But then there were some Saturdays where my long run was a few kilometers longer. So I'd either, you know, normally I would start earlier, get in a few extra kilometers, join the group and finish. And then there was a few occasions where I had things like a fast finish to a long run. So I might do, you know, 20 Ks and then have like 2 or 3 kilometers faster at the end. So I'd recruit a couple of runners from the group to like finish fast with me if they had it in the legs. So yeah, there were some subtle differences to my training, but it was those little subtle differences along the way that I think added up to improve performance and achieving my goal, for sure.
And what do you think of that training season was your biggest learning lesson?
Oh, it's hard. When I finished the New York Marathon, I started writing in my journal about all the things I learnt throughout the season and what I was going to apply to next season and stuff. And I don't know if I could name one single thing for my biggest learning, because there was so many. Like, it was such a educational experience as well as like physical transformation. I learned so much, but Um, I think my biggest learning probably is to go into it with a pretty clear plan of what you have to do. And I think that's where working with you, Laurie, really helped, because I said to you, I want to run a marathon under 3 hours 30. That's all I knew. It was then your job to get me there. So I think having a plan, like laid out week by week, day by day, what I had to do was the biggest learning for me. Was like asking for help, saying, okay, I don't know what I have to do. Help. And you laid out a really clear plan that got me to the goal. So I think that made it, that's probably my biggest lesson, is that if someone has a specific goal in mind, and whether it's a distance or a time or whatever, that they, sit down with either yourself or speak to other people about getting like a clear plan to get there, because it makes it so much easier when you know what you have to do. You just have to wake up on a Tuesday morning and do what it says for Tuesday morning. You don't have to worry about what happens next week or the week after. So
Yeah, I definitely say that a plan is important in training, especially when you have a lot of work to do, specifically like you did, to get to that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't just have to work on one thing. I had to work on like increasing my distance. I had to work on increasing my speed and endurance. Like there were so many factors I had to work on, but you can't do all of those things at once. Like you have to balance it out and avoid injury. And yeah, there's a lot of things that have to come together in that plan to make it sustainable and make your goal achievable. So
right.
Yeah.
And while you were training, there were a couple of little injuries that started to creep up.
Yeah, there was a couple of little niggling injuries. I had I got a bit of a niggle in my knee at one stage, where I found I had to keep icing my leg after some of the runs, and then it would clear up before the next one. So that was like a little niggling injury. And then towards the end of this training season, I started to get a sore like hip flexor on the runs. And that one to me was probably the most concerning, because I've never had anything like that before at all. And also getting rid of that pain was difficult. It was kind of like just resting it was about the only thing that would alleviate the pain. So yeah, there was a couple of little things along the way that I guess they plant little seeds of doubt in your mind. It's like, oh, can my body really do this? But that's where sort of, like your guidance comes into it, where you're saying, hey, you've got a plan. We can make adjustments as we go along and tweak things to keep you on track, but to also, prevent further injury and stuff.
Right. So and we did some of those tweaks.
Yeah, absolutely. And also getting things like massages really helped. That made a massive difference, because over the course of the training season, your muscles are working so hard and they get so tired that a good massage did wonders for me. It just kind of reset my body. And doing things I did infrared saunas. If anyone's ever heard of those before, they're kind of they're not like your normal steam sauna. It's like a light kind of sauna, but it's you sit in this little room and you perspire and stuff, but you come out feeling like you've just eliminated all the toxins out of your body and stuff. And so some little things like that also really helped keep my body on track.
Yeah, I remember in the very beginning when we first started working on this goal, I had mentioned massage as something that was really important to me, and it seemed like you weren't quite sure of it.
Do you know what? I'm all in for getting a massage and stuff. But yeah, I think as time went on, I forgot about them. And then it got towards the end of the season, and then for whatever reason, I booked in to get a massage, and I'm like, oh, this is a game changer. I left getting that massage just feeling like I was at the start of the season again. Like I didn't realize how, as the season went on, my body kind of got a little bit more tired, and it just sort of slowly builds and you don't notice it. And then I had that massage and I was like, wow, I feel reborn. Like it was, yeah. And it was just an hour and it just changed things for sure.
Right. And I always stress the importance of self-care, and massage is one of them.
Yeah.
Massage, magnesium baths,
Yes.
sleep.
Yes. Yeah. Those particularly the magnesium baths and sleep were like the top two on my recovery schedule.
Right. But you did notice the benefit in those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I've never had so many baths before.
And if you were to do this training program again, the NYC Marathon training plan again, would you up the self-care the second time around?
Would I up the self-care? I think the only thing I would do from a self-care perspective would probably be to get more regular massages. I think in terms of like the sleep, I think I've got that sorted out. And the downtime, yeah, I think the only thing is probably the massages would be something I could do better next time. Getting them earlier in the season and just being a bit more consistent.
Right. I thought you did a really good job with self-care.
Yeah, I think it helped, again, going back to the program, as having it as a step in my program to do. It felt like, okay, I have to achieve self-care. Whereas normally like you read it in a program and it says like a day off. So you just take a day off and you don't think about why you're having a day off. You just don't train for that day. But to have it prescribed like a self-care, like, you know, take 15 minutes out and meditate, for example, or, you know, have a bath, for example, like it sort of makes you actively think about recovering and de-stressing and giving your body a chance to repair itself. So
you can go back out there and train hard.
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah.
All right. And if you were to give some advice to some of the people out there watching who might have a goal of running a marathon or whatever it might be, half marathon.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. No matter what your goal is, and whether it's you want to achieve a new distance, you want to go up a distance, or you want to achieve a new time or a PR or something, I think, you know, talking to the coaches at House of Running and like Laurie, especially, like if you have a specific goal, to discuss it, because there could be as simple as coming up with a unique program. Like no one program is going to fit everybody. So maybe that you do need a custom program where there's a few tweaks each week, but those small changes will add up over the course of the season. So I think, you know, the first thing you need to do is like have a discussion and talk about it and see what options are available. I mean, you know, I certainly learned that Laurie's a vast resource of running knowledge, you know, and if she doesn't know something, she'll find it. So yeah, I think everybody out there, use Laurie as a resource. She knows so much. But yeah, I think having the custom program was the one thing that changed it for me. Just those small changes each week just added up to a huge difference in the end, for sure.
And now that you've hit your New York sub 3:30 goal time, what's next?
It was funny because before I did the New York Marathon, I was like, I don't even know if I want to do another marathon after this. Maybe I'll just do one to say I've done it, and then, you know, I might go back to the shorter distance and work on speed or something. But I think it was like the last probably 2 or 3 kilometers of the New York Marathon, I'm like, damn it, I'm going to do another one. I haven't even finished this one, but I just know I'm going to do it again. So I'm definitely going to go and do another marathon. And in fact, I've set myself a goal to run. There's a thing called the Abbott World 6, and it's like 6 leading world marathons. So New York is one of them, and then there's Boston and Chicago, Tokyo, Berlin, London. So I'm gonna set myself a goal to run all 6 of those marathons over the next couple of years.
That's a great goal. I've run all of them except Chicago and Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so I definitely think I've got the running bug now, for sure. I would consider myself a runner now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on here to share your story and what's helped make your New York Marathon a success. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off?
I think if anyone's got any questions or anything like particularly those guys from the House of Running group, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any more questions in depth or give you, more advice or ideas or whatever. But I think my only tip is that anything's achievable. So, don't be afraid to set crazy big goals that are out there, because, you've got a fantastic network of people that will support you to get you there, from the coaches at House of Running to the rest of the running community and stuff. There's a vast resource of people that are cheering you on. So make use of it. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to say again how very impressed I am that you seem to go from not really considering yourself a runner at all to running a sub 3:30 marathon in just 1 year.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
I think I need to stop and just put that into perspective, because I think I get too far ahead of myself and not really stop and give myself a pat on the back for where I've come from. So
yeah, and there was a lot of work that went into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I thought I'd never buy myself a new pair of running shoes because I wear them out. Well, I'm definitely due for a new pair of running shoes now after you rack up so many kilometers running. It's that's the reward at the end of it. I get to buy some new shoes.
Definitely reward yourself. Yeah, that was an amazing goal.
Yeah.
And big success.
Yes. Couldn't have done it without you though, Laurie.
Yeah, thank you. And if there's anybody in the group that also would like some one-on-one coaching, feel free to reach out to me, because I'd be happy to help.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on, and we'll say goodbye now.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.